At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability, ASU isn't just ahead of the curve, it's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
This is Cashing Out on VSiN, the sports betting network.
All right, let's do it. Another hour of Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo, getting you ready for your week, taking you through the late hours of your Sunday night into Monday morning here on the program. Make sure that you interact with the show on Twitter at the Joe Ceraulo. I want to hear your best bets from the weekend, what you're most looking forward to the week to come. Our friend Dan Groeschel chimes in at the Joe Ceraulo. Are you locked in, dude? We've got a matchup with Philly to close March and get win number 28, 6-point favorites at tip. Followed up with that by tweeting hashtag nailed it, referring, of course, to our Toronto Raptors tickets that Dan and I had over 27.5 wins. Took it at the All-Star break. The Raptors get win number 28 on Sunday in Philly. Dan had a tremendous tweet at the beginning of March, pretty much citing Toronto's schedule and saying, we're going to cash this out by April 1st. I, frankly, truthfully, honestly, admittedly, thought that Dan was getting a little ahead of himself with that statement, with that prediction. I thought it would cash, but I thought it would maybe extend a week into April. Dan hit the nail on the head. Want to give my guy all the credit in the world for that one. And that's why, folks, you tweet at the show with some bold takes, some hot takes. I'll share them with the world. I'll give you credit when you nail them. So Toronto, over 27.5 hits. We are waiting on Phoenix as they fall by 40 at home to Houston. They are 35-40 on the year. We have under 40.5 in pocket, 2 more losses, and we get there on the Phoenix Suns. We just need 2 more losses, 7 games to go. Feeling good about that one. Call me Michael Bublé. I'm feeling so good. Let's go from the NBA to college hoops. That's the story of the weekend. The Final Four is set. First time since 2008. Second time since tourney expansion in 1985. We've got all 4 1 seeds. And I've got news for you. If you're the person who, when the brackets come out, pencils it in and puts all 4 1 seeds to the Final Four, I can't stand you. But pat yourself on the back. I hate when I see those brackets. And you know what? I'm going to call out my buddy, VSiN's own college hoops expert, and there's a reason he is called our college hoops expert, Greg Peterson. Damn you, Greg, because you had all 4 1 seeds in the Final Four, and I wanted to hate it. And I wanted to get different, right? And I didn't get too different. I had 2 1s, 2 2s. Well, guess what? I've got half of the are all 4 1s in the Final Four. That said, we got the best teams in the Final Four, so it's hard to hate it too much. I don't think there's any question. There's no dispute. These are the best teams. And I thought Michigan State was a better team than Auburn, and I was wrong, because even when Auburn had an off-day shooting and a performance that was nowhere near what this Auburn Tigers team is capable of, Sparty couldn't take advantage of it. They lost by 6. The way Sparty shot, they should have lost by 25. Hell, the way Auburn shot, they should have lost the game. But, you know, every time Auburn would go on a run where they were 1 for 10, Michigan State was there to say, don't worry, guys, we'll go 0 for 11 on our little run here. Just terrible basketball in that game. That's why my first inclination is to lay 2.5 with the Gators when I see that opening line in San Antonio. But how about the other game from Sunday? The early one, a little morning basketball if you're out here on the West Coast like I am. Houston, Tennessee. Kelvin Sampson's Cougars. My goodness, is he the best coach of the remaining 4? Is he the best coach in the country in college basketball in 2025? We spent so much time loving Rick Pitino on this program, and deservedly so, and rightfully so. And Rick Pitino, I believe, belongs on the Mount Rushmore of college hoops coaches. But Kelvin Sampson might quietly be the best coach in college hoops right now. You look at his last 6 seasons. This will be his second Final Four. He's got an Elite Eight, and he's got 3 Sweet 16s. Houston, the Houston Cougars, a former Conference USA team, has gone Sweet 16 or better 6 straight years. Now, I know that they've been a power conference team for a while, and I know that they've, even before they were in the Big 12, performed like a high major. But, this is a Houston team. You kind of look at them similarly to BYU, right? A decade ago, they're considered a mid-major, right? Well, Case Keenum was slinging the ball at quarterback for the Cougars. They were a Conference USA team, right? Trying to be like one of those Group of 5 squads back before it was called the Group of 5. Kelvin Sampson, going to this program, what he has done with this basketball team, nothing shy of sensational. I mean, you go through the Blue Bloods, and you'll be hard-pressed to find a team that goes 6 straight years where their floor is Sweet 16. How about this? And VSiN's own Paulie Howard tweeted it out a few hours ago. Want to give him credit. Since December 1st, Paulie noted Houston 30-1. 30-1. They started the year 4-3. Had that loss to San Diego State. I believe that was right in Las Vegas. Had a tight loss to Auburn earlier in the year. They start the year 4-3. And people are wondering, maybe they're pretenders. Maybe they're not as good. Maybe it's another Houston team where great defense, but they can't shoot. Rattle off 30 out of 31 wins. Lone loss since December 1st, February 1st, at home to Texas Tech by 1 overtime. That's why when they were laying 2.5 to Texas Tech in the rematch at the end of February, even though it was a road game and the public money was heavy on the Red Raiders, I took Houston. I said, Kelvin Sampson ain't losing to these guys twice in a year. They won it 69-61 on the road. Oh, by the way, that Texas Tech loss, nothing to scoff at. They're an Elite Eight team. And they were minutes away from being a Final Four team and giving the Big 12 more Final Four teams than the SEC. My goodness, what a collapse. How about that game? Texas Tech got Texas Tech. That's how we're going to phrase it. What they did against Arkansas, 16-3 to close out regulation, get the overtime win. They got Texas Tech against Florida, who pulled off nearly an identical comeback, except in about 2 less minutes, in about 2.5 minutes. Unreal. And that was the best, by the way, live bet of my life, I think. Gators down 6, minus 3.5, plus 140. Tweeted it out from the bar to let you folks get in on it. Had a couple people say that they loved it and they tailed. Had a couple people tell me, laughing in my face when Florida was down 9 late, what a terrible bet. Glad I didn't double down. Well, I'm glad I did. Plus 140, minus 3.5 Gators. That got home pre-flop, we lost. But at that price, plus $1.40, finished in the green on that game. My goodness, Texas Tech. You can't draw that up. What they did against Arkansas to then next round, next game, happened to them. You can't even imagine that in college basketball. That said, this Kelvin Sampson Houston team, I love this squad. If I had to, pick, and obviously we're rooting for our bets here. If I had to pick a feel-good team that I'm rooting for to win it all, it's Houston. And nothing against this Duke team. This ain't Coach K. This ain't Leitner. This ain't Grayson Allen. This is a really likable Duke team. This is by far the most likable Duke team of my lifetime. For once in my life, I don't hate Duke. Couldn't stand Coach K. John Shire, I think this is as likable a coach, player, Cooper Flagg, nothing to not like. He's so far from Grayson Allen, right? Like, just a different Duke team. Very likable. I would love to see Kelvin Sampson get a ring, though. I would love it. Problem is, I look at this Houston team, I don't see a guy bigger than 6'8". I look at this Duke team, there is not a starter smaller than 6'6". I struggle with that. I really struggle with that because Duke, Houston, best defensive team in the country, Duke's not far behind. And they just held Alabama, one of the most prolific offensive teams in the nation, to 65 points. What does that mean they are capable? I'm not saying they're gonna, but what does that mean they are capable of holding Houston to? 50? 55? I mean, Houston has shown they can win a game 62-60. They can win a game 58-55. But can they hold Duke to what they held Purdue to? Can they hold Duke to what they held Tennessee to? I don't know. Now, Houston's gotten up in the 80s and the 90s. but that's against Kansas. I don't know if they can do that against Duke. Everyone got up to the 90s against Bill Self's squad this year. This one scares me. My first thought was take the points. The more I look into it, the more I worry. Although I will say this. For as great as Duke was on defense against Alabama, I was not impressed with what they did on defense against Arizona. And I don't know if they got lazy, if they got complacent. You know, I don't want to read too much into that game because they were up 70-51 with about 12 minutes to go, maybe 15 minutes to go. Game felt done. So maybe their guys felt up 19 in the second half. It was over, and that's why Arizona got let back into the game. But I thought Duke was going to hold Arizona to about 70 points and win that thing 90-75 or so. And I was right about Duke's offensive output. But defensively, I never would have dreamt Arizona got up to 93 against Duke. Houston, let's see if they can get up. I mean, look, if the Cougars get up to 85, I think that them covering is a lock. I think that they probably win because I don't foresee Houston allowing more than 85 points to Duke in this spot. They're just so damn good defensively. I just really worry if their offense can keep up and if their size can withstand a team that runs 6'6" to 7'2" in their starting five. I mean, I think Houston, if you look at the 6 tallest starters on the court, I think Roberts is the only Cougar who cracks the top 6. And that certainly worries me a little bit. Folks, are you ready to get in on the action? I'm not talking March Madness anymore. I'm talking the ponies. If so, First Bet's got you covered. Sign up now. You can access exclusive promos and bet on hundreds of thrilling horse races daily right from your phone or computer. Just go to firstbet.com. It's the number one, stbet.com. Use the promo code VSIN200. You'll score a 20% rebate on all wagers for the first 60 days of $200. Don't miss out. Start betting today at firstbet.com.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSIN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, taking you through the late hours of your Sunday night into Monday morning. Opening weekend in Major League Baseball is in the books. Who better to join the show to react to opening weekend and break down this loaded Monday slate of games than our friend Colby Conway, joining us now on the Progressive Guest Line, MLB Analyst over at Fantasy Alarm. Colby, how are you, my friend? What was your biggest takeaway from opening weekend in Major League Baseball?
Hey, thanks for having me on. Looking at it here, we're actually going to talk about one of these games a little bit later, but coming into the year, one thing I was very interested to see was with this Seattle Mariners team, we knew that they could limit the opposition with their insane pitching rotation. I had questions about the offense, and when you come out and score 8 runs in a handful of games against the Athletics, that does not make you feel any more positive about that offense moving forward. So this Seattle team is going to be very fun to, I would say, profit on throughout the year. But watching those games, it's going to be a lot of unders and a lot of boring games.
Colby, it's like you read my mind. I don't know if you were tuned into the show earlier, but I gave out at the end of hour 1 my big overreactions to opening weekend. And I said the Blue Jays should start selling now and the Mariners should start buying now. Because I feel exactly the way you do. I love this pitching, but man, those bats are anemic. Actually hit the first 5 under Sunday. It was 4. JP Sears, Brian Wu lands on 1. That was the easiest under, like you said. This is a Mariners team. Just go under, under, under. What's the play against Detroit? Is that where you're going?
I mean, you can certainly go that one. I went elsewhere. I went Tigers first 5 money line. Jackson Jobe's going to get the ball for Detroit, and we just talked about it. Seattle can't score. Coming into the season, we were wondering what they were going to do with their offense, and their biggest acquisition was just bringing back a guy who was a part of the bad lineup last year as well. So made no sense. And then on the Seattle side, Emerson Hancock's going to get the ball, and he can't miss bats. He allows home runs. Detroit has just enough pop in that lineup. Both bullpens aren't very good, so I'm not really wanting to go the full one here. So give me the Tigers first 5 money line. That's my best bet in that one.
I like looking at these first 5 plays. I'm eyeing a couple on Monday as well. One of them in Philadelphia. Phillies host the Rockies. Christopher Sanchez, a guy who at 40-1, I've heard some Cy Young murmurs from people out there in the futures market on taking him. What are your thoughts, Rockies, Phillies? Where are you going in this one?
Yeah, I think if you can go the first 5 with Phillies, and I think you can go the whole game Phillies run line. I don't really know what to expect from German Marquez. He's only made 5 more starts than you and I have over the last 2 seasons. The spring numbers weren't great. I don't expect Philly to have Trey Turner in this one. If I remember correctly, I think Philly is off on Tuesday, so there's no need to rush him back there with his back injury or his back issue that he's kind of nursing at the moment. But they should get JT Realmuto back. And like you said, Christopher Sanchez is going to start in this one. And the wind should be blowing out on a nice day up in Philly. So I like Philly to score a lot of runs. I think they handle business, whether you do the first 5 or the full game run line. I think you're in a good spot with Philly on Monday.
Yeah, and I'm going to shop this around. I'm just pulling up for the sake of speed at DraftKings. First 5 run line, you have to lay 55 cents. No way I'm doing that. I do typically stay away from laying a run line for a home team because you could lose if they're up by 1. Obviously, you lose those last 3 outs, that last turn at bat. But this might be a bludgeoning, and I might get there laying just 15 cents on a full game run line. I think that might be mispriced, and I might get there with you. How about my Mets taking on the Marlins? I always laugh when the Mets play the Marlins because it's a virtual home game. All the New Yorkers who retire to South Florida. What's your take on this one?
I always try to go with the numbers. What do the numbers tell me? What are the stats? But this is just one of those where, you can get the numbers to prove it, but there is just something that this is going to be the get right game for this Mets offense. Obviously, they ran into a tough start there with the good starters that Houston gets to run out, and the Mets only scored about, 5 runs through those first couple of games. But now they're going to get Cal Quantrill, who is not a good pitcher. He is a pitch-to-contact guy who has never missed bats for his entire career. He had a good season a couple of years back, but that was in the most pitcher-friendly division in all of baseball. And then if you want to look to 2024 and say, oh, well, Colby, he was at Coors Field, the game's best offensive park. Even away from Coors, he still served up a 1.32 homer per 9 mark. For his career, he is generally a slow starter. The Mets have too much talent to stay down for this much longer. I know they've barely scored any runs all season, but I love the Mets team total over 4.5 runs tomorrow. They very well are going to get off to a hot start in this game. They got Vientos, Lindor, Alonso, Soto, all those guys that can hit right-handed pitching. And again, I am not worried about Quantrill missing any bats. So a lot of runs are coming the Mets' way on Monday.
I love that angle. I was also looking at kind of a first 5 type play here because I think there's a glaring starting pitching advantage. David Peterson coming off a phenomenal year against Quantrill, who had a really strong 6 weeks to start 2024 and fell off a cliff, finished with an ERA right around 5. Like you pointed out, pitches to contact. Alonso, Florida kid who always mashes when they're in Miami. Vientos, a South Florida kid. I just think that, to your point, this is a great spot for the Mets bats to break out. Love the Phillies play. Love the Mets play. Those were games I was eyeing all day, and you just reaffirmed why I love them so much. How about the Cubbies? They've played more games than anyone else. They're taking on the Athletics, who leave Seattle with a split. What do you like in that one?
This is actually one I mentioned. I might do a little action on 2 little bets in this game here. I like the over the 8.5 runs and the Cubs money line. I think there's going to be some runs in this one because while Ben Brown can miss bats for the Cubs, we've seen it in spring training. The ERA was north of 5. He needed nearly 70 pitches to get 8 outs over in Tokyo against the Dodgers. We could see the Cubs bullpen in the 3rd or 4th inning in this one, and it might not be that outlandish to think that. But on the other side, Joey Estes is not going to have a fun outing against this Cubs offense. Estes was not good in spring training. Go to last year, fly ball pitcher, home runs were a problem, and left-handed hitters crushed him, and the Cubs have some notable pop from the left-handed side of the batter's box there. So I think you could parlay this one, go over 8.5 runs with the Cubs money line, or you can play them straight up. But Cubs are going to win this game, and I do think a lot of runs are going to cross the plate.
I love it. I'm also thinking of different creative same-game parlays to pair with Cubs money line, maybe like a Kyle Tucker, over, what would it be, 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs when that market comes out and gets released. There are a lot of fun things. I love Tucker in this spot. I think he's poised to perform. Plus, they're in that minor league ballpark. So does that factor into your handicap of the total there and going over?
A little bit. I also think if we're gonna, move away from stats and numbers, take a walk down narrative street, you could say first game, basically the quote unquote home opener for the A's there, if you want to call it that. So maybe people are a little bit jazzed up to see what happens there. But the Park should play fine. I think for the offense, I think it just comes down to the Cubs left-handed hitters are just going to pack such a punch against Joey Estes here. So whether it's Kyle Tucker that you mix into that same game parlay, if you want some maybe better odds to add in there, you are going to get Pete Crow Armstrong against a righty, which is the good side for him as well. So runs are going to be scored. Love the Cubs left-handed bats. A lot of runs to be scored.
I love it. Colby Conway with us on the Progressive Guest Line, MLB Analyst over at Fantasy Alarm. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Colby R. Conway. Colby, how about Monday Night Baseball Braves-Dodgers? 5-0 Dodgers, 0-4 Braves. Atlanta hasn't scored since Friday night. Back-to-back games getting blanked in San Diego. How concerned are you through 4 games about the Braves lineup? And does Tyler Glasnow continue the scoreless streak?
I do think the Braves will scratch 1 or 2 across. Dodgers are going to win this game pretty handedly. Even though when you look at the Dodgers lineup, there's been a little bit of swing and miss in their offense as well. I'm not buying the Grant Holmes hype here. They got their work cut out for him. Tyler Glasnow is one of the, from a fantasy perspective, we say one of the most elite options on a per inning basis. I think he's going to give the Braves offense fits in this one. Dodgers are obviously going to score and do their part as well here. So, Dodgers team total, I think, is in play against Grant Holmes. And as I'm looking at it now over at DraftKings, if you take the Dodgers run line -1.5, it's actually +100, so you can double up your money there. So I like the Dodgers to cover in this one. It's just simply when you look at the pitching matchup, Glasnow is just so far more talented than Grant Holmes. And Braves are kind of down bad right now. Dodgers obviously have enough talent, so I'll take the Dodgers run line in that one.
Colby, I love it. Great stuff, man. Thanks so much for hopping on. Really appreciate your time.
Yep, thank you so much. Good luck, everyone.
Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Colby R. Conway, our friend Colby Conway from Fantasy Alarm. Yeah, you look at these Glasnow numbers against current Atlanta hitters, 11 of 62 against them. It's a 177 average. They've got no home runs, just 3 extra base hits, 22 strikeouts in 62 at-bats. I mean, that's absurd. What is that, north of 35%? Look, my concern with Glasnow, whenever we talk about Tyler Glasnow, the concern is he's made of glass. The last name is appropriate. There's a guy who in his career, for a 31-year-old with the stuff that he possesses, who made his MLB debut in 2016, he's yet to cross 40 wins. He is 39 career wins. It's unthinkable with the stuff he has that in nearly a 10-year career, he has just 39 wins. He's reached 10 wins in a single season once. He can never stay healthy, but when he's out there, he's damn good. And I'm going to be looking at Glasnow K-props in this one. More Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo up next.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, taking you through the late hours of your Sunday night into Monday morning here on the program. Fun weekend on the court. NBA, obviously, Sweet 16 and Elite 8 in college hoops on the diamond. We got through opening weekend. Baseball is back. I love it. Let's run through some of these Sunday bets that you might have cashed out on over in the association. The Clippers came back in the fourth quarter to cover against Cleveland. They were down, I believe it was 114-100 at their worst in that fourth quarter in Cleveland. Cut it to 5. They cover 127-122. Cleveland, your final in Ohio. The Cavs, 60-15 on the year. They've won 80% of their games. Absolutely nuts. The Clippers sitting there 42-32. Still right on the cusp of that 6th seed. Still on the wrong side, though, of the playoff versus play-in line. Ivica Zubac had a double-double for him, 14 and 13, so cashed that ticket if you had it. Harden, a near triple-double, didn't quite get there, but goes 24, 8 and 8, a great game from Harden. Norm Powell, ever since his return, man, as he goes, the Clippers seem to go. Since Powell came back, obviously missed the latter half of February, and then came back March 2nd against the Lakers, played 9 minutes, went back down, and since his return on March 16th, the last 2 weeks when he plays, Clippers are 5-2 straight up. So Powell, they didn't get the win, but he dropped 34 in this one. No Kawhi, but the Clippers still a competitive, good game at Cleveland for the Cavs. Evan Mobley, one of your front runners, defensive player of the year. He had 3 blocks, 7 boards, 22 points. Jarrett Allen, not much of an offensive guy, but he gave him 25 and 12. Donovan Mitchell, he's back. He gave him almost the same stat line as Allen, 24 and 12. Mitchell been huge for Cleveland down the stretch here. Garland, 19 points, couple of double-digit scores off the bench. Hunter, Okoro, 10 and 11 each, as the Cavs have 6 guys in double figures get there, 127-122. My Knicks get the win against Portland, 110-93. Big second half comeback for the Knicks, who went into the locker room down 8 and then erased that in the third quarter and ran away with it in the fourth. For the Knicks, Anunoby and Bridges, both massive games, 28 apiece. Anunoby also had 7 boards. Towns, double-double. Didn't light up the stat sheet, but got his 10 points and 11 boards. Hart, a near triple-double, 14, 8 boards, 9 assists. And this Knicks team, without Brunson, McBride, or Cam Payne, missing their top 3 options at point guard, they get there for the win and the cover at home against the Blazers. Avdija continues to tear it up for Portland, by the way. He had 33 in the loss, Sharp 23. Simons, he's been struggling lately. He got 15 points, but on just 5 of 20 from the floor. And you look at some of his recent shooting performances, I don't know what's wrong with him. I mean, he's getting points, right? He's got in the month of March, 4 or 5 games where he's eclipsed 30. He's averaging 22.5 in the month of March. He's averaging 19.5 on the season. So if you just look at points per game, you would think, oh man, he's having a great month. But he's got some games like 5 of 20 against the Knicks, right? 2 of 12 against Cleveland. 8 for 24 against Memphis a few games ago. It was 2 of 11 against the Knicks last time out. Simons has had some games where it just looks like the guy can't shoot. And he still, like I said, in this one, puts up 15 points, gets to the free throw line, converts there. But he has had some interesting games where he just looks like he is on the struggle bus at times. Atlanta got the win at Milwaukee. Never got to the counter on it. Not going to claim false credit when I don't deserve it. But remember, we were talking about the Hawks to win the division at the All-Star break at nearly 5-1. They're in first place, a game ahead of Orlando in the loss column. This game goes way over 235.5. Atlanta, 145. Milwaukee, 124. Trae Young just missed the Barbara Walters. 19 and 19. 19 points, 19 assists for Dyson Daniels. I mean, this guy is just absolutely otherworldly. 5 steals, 6 assists, 9 boards, 22 points. Unreal what Dyson Daniels continues to do. The number 1 overall pick, 36 points for the Hawks. Researcher led the way for Atlanta. For Milwaukee, Giannis had a great game. 31, 9 boards, 5 dimes. Kuzma added 25. They didn't get much help outside of that from the starters. Kevin Porter Jr., though, youngster out of SC. I say youngster because he's younger than me. He's 24 years old, and he's been in the league now 6 years, which is ridiculous. He actually had 28 off the bench. Offense not really the problem for Milwaukee, but they could not get a stop to save their lives. Neither could San Antonio. Warriors 148, Spurs 106. Similar score to the Rockets 148 over the Suns with 109. Couple of good old school shellackings there. Golden State, all 5 starters in double figures. Buddy Hield off the bench with 19. Podziemski, leading scorer with 27. How about that? Steph, only 13. Jimmy, only 13. Draymond, 14. Notice I don't say only there because that's a good night for Draymond offensively. For San Antonio, they just couldn't get anything going. Starters got pulled early. Chris Paul had 6. Castle had 9. And then the bench got sent in to run wild. Houston, Phoenix, Rockets just put on a clinic. What did Houston finish with? 8 guys in double figures. And Dylan Brooks would have made it 10, but he got ejected, had to be held back early on in that one. Jalen Green, 33 points, 27 minutes. Van Fleet led the team with 28 minutes. That's how in hand this game was for Houston. He had 13. Şengün had 16 and 9. Thompson, 12 points, 10 boards, 9 assists. Off the bench, Jabari had 10. Whitmore had 13. Landell and Holiday each had 11. Phoenix, Durant leaves with that looked like an ankle injury, had 11 points, 23 minutes. Booker had 28, and no one else got anything going for this Phoenix team that is just in absolute disarray. We are 2 losses away from Phoenix cashing out our under 40.5 wins ticket. And with a 127-109 win in Philly, we cash out our Raptors over 27.5. Raptors 28-47 on the year. Big shout out to our friend at Dan Groeschel on Twitter. Tweeted the reminder to his tweet earlier in the month where he said the Raptors wouldn't just go over this mark, they would do it before April. Dan, you were spot on. They did it before April. RJ, 31 points in the win. Scotty, 9 points, 5 boards, 4 assists. Light night out of him. Battle added 16 off the bench. Shed, the former Houston product, added 11 and 9 assists in the starting 5. For Philly, Lonnie Walker had 23. Council, also the 4th, like Walker, added 17 and 11 boards for the Sixers. But this Philadelphia team, absolute joke. That this Philly team, who everyone thought the top 3 contenders in the East would all be from the Atlantic Division, right? Boston, Knicks, Philly. Well, Boston and the Knicks are 2 and 3 in the conference. Philly, dead last in the division. A game behind Brooklyn. 23 and 52 on the year, only ahead of Charlotte and Washington. There was a point Philly was odds on to make the play-in. Like at the All-Star break, Philly was still a favorite to make the play-in, finish top 10. They are eliminated. 11 games behind Miami in the loss column. You cannot make that stuff up. 11 games back is absolutely absurd. Folks, are you ready to take your sports betting to the next level? If so, the Sharp Plays at sharpplays.com are your secret weapon. Since 2011, they've been building trusted relationships with major sports books and sports insiders worldwide. They provide daily updates on what the top pro bettors and betting groups are wagering on, so you're always ahead of the game. But that's not all. They just launched a cutting-edge AI betting analyst that provides even more selections and reports, giving you the edge you need to win. Best part, you can check out the Sharp Plays free content anytime. Get real-time betting action reports, alerts, and more through email and Twitter directly from the pros. Plus, explore their records, including detailed online logs right on the website at sharpplays.com. With the Sharp Plays, you're joining a team that's never had a losing season, so what the hell do you have to lose? Start today and get access to the best betting insights at sharpplays.com. You want the best betting insights? We're going to have them on the Final Four coming up momentarily. But I'll tell you what, this Florida team, they had a little blip, a little hiccup against Texas Tech. I think, from what we've just seen, that they are head and shoulders above Auburn. And I think Walter Clayton Jr. is as live as anyone to win the tournament Most Outstanding Player Award. I love Todd Golden's Gators. I love the matchup with Bruce Pearl and the Tigers coming up. Going to be all over this on the other side. Plus, we'll look at Houston and Duke, 2 very different teams, very different styles of basketball. I can't wait for this all 1-seed Final Four in San Antonio. More on it up next. It's Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo.
Here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, taking you through the late hours of your Sunday night into Monday morning, getting your week started the right way right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. We've got our Final Four. We know who's headed to San Antonio, and it is the 4-1 seeds. So all of you chalky bracket makers can pat yourselves on the back. You know, it's funny. I always laughed. I always loved when President Obama would come out with his bracket, because I'd look at it and every year it was the chalkiest bracket you could imagine. He'd pick like 112 over a 5 in the first round, and then it would just be chalk the rest of the way. Well, President Obama, congratulations. You finally have hit 100% on your Final Four. Every time it would come out, I'd be like, I love the guy, but this is all chalk. What are we doing here? Well, if you are like President Obama and you wanted all 4 of your 1 seeds in the Final Four, congratulations. You have a correct Final Four. I had 2 2s, Michigan State and St. John's, 5-1, 6-1 respectively to make the Final Four. Right side of my bracket, Duke, Houston, that got there. When I first made my initial bracket, because I'm a firm believer, when the bracket comes out Selection Sunday, you should do one within 30 seconds of the bracket being out. Just go with a gut check, a gut feeling. And then build it from the middle out, make tweaks, make changes. My first bracket had Florida winning it all. And then I said, this is too chalky. It was always Michigan State. It was never in doubt I was going to have Sparty. But I had 3 1s and a 2. I thought it was too chalky. I said, let me tweak this. And I said, let me go with a coach who's already proven, even when he has a team that stinks from 3, he can win a championship, like Pitino did at Louisville, with a team that only shot about 31% from 3. Great defense. Maybe they could stifle the Gators. You're going with a 74-year-old coach against Golden in his 40s. I said it was like Belichick versus McVay. So I changed it, took Florida out, put St. John's in. Do I regret it? No, I have no regrets in life. But do I wish it looked different? Maybe. I don't know. Not like it would have separated me from the crowd, me from the field in any of these bracket contests, because these are the years that the chalk brackets prevail. But Florida was on the ropes. And for a team that was up at halftime, they seemed dead to right. And that's not the first time Florida's had a scare this March, right? They had that round of 32 scare against UConn. How did they respond to that? They collected themselves. They blew the doors off of Maryland. Now they have this scare against Texas Tech. And when I say scare, I mean this was an insane comeback that the Gators orchestrated. Down by double digits late, 67-57 late there in the second half. 71-61. Down 10 with 5.5 minutes to go. And in 5.5 minutes, they go on a 23-8 run to close. Shoot, I'll even take it a step further. They were down 9 inside of 3 minutes to go. And they go on in the final 3 minutes, a 15-4 run? So you get Texas Tech goes on that 16-3 run in 4 minutes against Arkansas to force overtime. Well, Texas Tech got Texas Tech. They go on the 16-3 run. Florida goes on the 15-4 run. And they cover our live bet, tweeted it out. Gators minus 3.5 plus $1.40. Florida gets there. I thought it was dead. I thought I double dipped and was a double loser. Ended up making money and coming out in the green on this game. I think Florida is going to respond well to this scare. And I like the Gators laying 2.5 against Auburn. I mean, the way Florida just does everything well. Defense, shooting, beyond the arc, the glass, importantly, the glass. I don't know if Auburn is balanced enough like that to beat this Florida team. Not the way Auburn played against Michigan State. That's my knock on Auburn. I mean, look, they're sitting here in the Final Four. I had them losing to Sparty, so I was wrong. But I was not impressed with how Auburn played against Michigan State in that win. 7 of 23 from beyond the arc. 42% from the floor. Lost on the boards. If you told me all those things pre-flop, I'd have said, oh, great, Michigan State won. I'd have said, forget the 5.5. Give me Sparty money line. If you had told me all those things. But then you see Sparty shot just 34%. And how much of that was Auburn playing great defense? I don't know. How much of that was Michigan State just chucking up bricks, even when they had open, good looks from beyond the arc? I venture to say it was more of that. That ain't going to happen with Florida. You leave Walter Clayton open from deep. Look, he was MIA first half against Texas Tech. They still had the lead. He got hot at the end. He won them that game. Dropped a 30 piece. We talked about him last week. Now, I'm not seeing updated odds for most outstanding player. He was 6-1 last week for tourney most outstanding player. If they win it all, it's Clayton, right? I mean, I would say 80% of the handicap on most outstanding player is which team wins it all. Very rare we get a McDavid Conn Smythe situation where the losing team gets the tourney most outstanding player. That's why at 3-1 I won't touch flag. But Clayton at 6-1, if you think Florida beats Duke, which my original bracket I had Florida champions, then I changed it, had St. John's over Duke. I love Walter Clayton. I mean, this kid is just a heart attack, and I don't think Auburn's going to have an answer for him. Let's hear from Clayton on the comeback and the win against the Red Raiders.
Like I said, guys could just, break apart during those moments. We all stay the course, stay together, and I think that just goes to show the togetherness of the team, the love that we all have for each other, just to, get through those tough times, because we went through tough times, during the summer, during practice and stuff like that. So just stay together, stay the course, like you said, Gator mentality, play to the final buzzer.
The revenge game for Auburn. What did Clayton do last time? February 8th. They went to Alabama, beat the Tigers 90-81. Clayton gave him 40 minutes, 19 points, 9 assists, 6 boards. It's a hell of a line. Not his most prolific offensive performance, but I mean, the guy averages 18. It was a tick above his average. The 30 against Texas Tech is just, he went scorched earth for a stretch there in the final minutes, in the closing minutes. Had 23 against UConn, was great in that game, 5 of 8 from 3. This tournament, he's 45% from 3, averaging 3.5 makes per game. I don't know if Auburn's going to have an answer to him. If Michigan State had a shooter like Clayton from beyond the arc, they win that game. I really was not impressed with Auburn's offense, and I can't really decipher how much of the Sparty's poor performance shooting-wise was a credit to Auburn's defense or just us saying, hey, this is who Michigan State is. They can't shoot from deep. And then they forget how to finish at the rim. And this Florida team has much more size than Michigan State has. I don't think they're going to be as intimidated by Broome and Caldwell down low. I think it's a recipe for the Gators to win again. And I know, Kentucky went into that Tennessee matchup in the Sweet 16, 2-0 against the Vols. They got waxed. Rick Barnes' squad got their revenge. Well, I don't think Bruce Pearl's squad is going to get their revenge in this one. I think that early line, Gators minus 2.5, is a good look. I think it's the right look. I think Florida's headed to the national championship game. I feel a lot more conviction about that than I do the Duke-Houston side, where I'm teetering. I think Duke wins, but I want to take the points. That's one that's going to have to marinate all week. This is an early pull the trigger. Give me the Gators laying 2.5 against Auburn. I just was not impressed. I'm watching Auburn, Michigan State in real time, and I'm sitting there going, all right, maybe Auburn's going to go on the run. Maybe Auburn's going to win it. And the more I think about what I watched, the entire game, my frustration was with Michigan State. Failing to finish at the rim. Missing open looks from 3. I mean, Sparty handed the game away. I don't think Auburn took it. Florida, they went and they took that from Texas Tech. Give me the Gators, minus 2.5 against Auburn in the Final Four. Folks, do you want to know where the money's really going? Unlike other sources, our betting splits at VSiN come straight from Circa and DraftKings, giving you insight into where the sharp action is landing. Circa's known for taking big bets from the pros, while DraftKings provides a great broad market perspective. That means you're getting the real action, not just public money, but the kinds of wagers that move lines. See the percentage of bets versus the handle on every game across every major sport, helping you make smarter, more informed bets. Get VSiN's exclusive betting splits for as little as $9.99 your first month at VSiN.com/subscribe. Up next, I can't wait. We're going to hear from 2 of the most entertaining cats in this tournament. One coach, one player. Cooper Flagg, Kelvin Sampson. You look at this Houston team. Kelvin Sampson, the job he's done with that program is nothing shy of phenomenal. And then you have Cooper Flagg. And people are trying to say he just had an off night against that. Last I checked, Duke won the game 85-65. I don't think anyone had an off night on the Blue Devils side. You know who had an off night? Mark Sears for Alabama had an off night. I don't think anyone on Duke had an off night. But we'll hear from Cooper Flagg on what people are perceiving to be an off night against Alabama up next. You don't want to go anywhere. You don't want to miss this. It's Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.